Imagine the best day of your life, the birth of your newborn, ends with 10 to 15 cops at your door with guns drawn for you. That's exactly what happened to a black couple. LAPD stormed a black couple's home hours after they refused a blood draw for their newborn. Does that not sound a bit heavy-handed? A black Los Angeles couple says officers stormed their homes alongside a social worker after they declined to let doctors perform a blood draw on their newborn daughter following a home birth. So this was a natural home birth. They did not want needles or blood drawn from their newborn. Here's the couple. Here's a picture of the couple. Kayla Love and Kari Jones, okay? Said circumstances surrounding the birth of their daughter turned hostile after they were rushed to the LA County USC Medical Center after the baby was born in June 27. What was supposed to be a home birth turned into an emergency home birth, and paramedics were called after Love experienced some complications. The baby was healthy, paramedics said, but the family was rushed to the hospital. According to the couple, after they declined doctors perform a blood draw on Fari, things turned hostile. We said no. We prefer our children to be seen by a private physician. Don't want your services. Reserve the right to deny. Kayla, the mother, said. Doctors asked Love if she had hepatitis, and an officer questioned whether Love cared about her daughter, asking why she didn't want to get the questions over with, and it just became a hot damn mess. There is a California law. According to California law, all babies born in the state must have the newborn screening test completed, which includes a blood draw. Love decided to be discharged early from the hospital and went home with her family. But that night, police and a social worker showed up at her door. Jones said, and I quote, between 10 to 15 officers came up to our home, pointing guns at me while I'm holding the baby over a health and wellness check, what they claim to be. Show this picture. They came with guns drawn. Now here's what you learn if you're a police, any cop will tell you, you draw your weapon only when you are ready to use it. You don't draw your weapon to scare anybody. You draw your weapon to kill something. So literally, 10 to 15 cops arrived in order to do this deed. What deed are we talking about? This is a newborn baby with responsible parents. They planned this. They got everything under control. They have a private physician. They knew their rights. They said, we'll take care of this with our private doctor. And God forbid you start looking at some of the insane medical records as it relates to black folk in emergency care. I get it. I understand it. But they came, guns blazing, guns drawn, for this new baby born, and this insane chaos was simply uncalled for. Kenya, I know you got some thoughts about this as a black woman especially.
Oh, just my heart goes out to that couple. I mean, we're seeing how many different avenues of being black in America does that tick off, whether it be the disparities that black women face within public health and the fact that our symptoms are less likely to believe, we're 3 times more likely to die during childbirth. And so even afterward, the complications that come afterward, this family was protecting themselves from the very institutions that threatens their lives, whether it be in public health or whether it be at home. And we're seeing the consequence of that being further they're having their lives under threat when we see exactly what another issue is, and that's the escalation, that's the involvement of police issues and or police law enforcement and issues of mental health and issues that are a matter of community health. And so that's why we're seeing people take to the streets all across last summer and including into this year. We're seeing folks who are saying enough is enough. When you're having a domestic dispute, if you're having a nonviolent domestic dispute, if you're having a mental health break, if you're having a health crises, you should not have your first interaction be with a guns ablaze law enforcement. And so that's essentially what people of color have been protesting for all of the time. Essentially, you, from this very moment the child was born, has subjected them to the institutions that will make their lives harder as a Black person and as a Black woman in this country. And you traumatize a couple unnecessarily in order to do so, when simply if it's a matter of having to have the child have this particular kit within a certain amount of hours, give her that option of being able to see the primary care physician she wants or see the private doctor that would have been able to handle this. There are laws that allow these couples to do that anyway. We know that they have to have a certain amount of testing. Right. All babies do with countrywide. But what doesn't need to be the case is that you are forcibly entering their home or using 10 to 15 officers to confront them. For what? You endangered the baby more than the parents ever could have.
Yeah, and think about the adversarialness of these police officers who responded in this particular way. They're saying, we care about the child, so we're gonna go kill the parents. We care about the child, but while the father is holding the child, you got guns drawn. That could have ended in death for everybody. Well, I guess then the cops would have had the blood they were looking for.
This is exactly why people are saying that, this is why the protesters, this is why activists are saying police and law enforcement should not be the first responders to issues of community health. And they're right.